This is the site, get your attention please, this is the site of the old Emile High School, or the old Emile School. And we're fortunate to have one of the graduates of the original Emile School here, Mr. Charles Washington, who is a member of the class of 1963.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As Doc said, my name is Charles Washington, and I was in the class of 1963. And I'd like to start off by saying we were proud to be here. We thought this was one of the best schools that we've ever been to, and after getting out of life, I appreciate it more and more. But during the first 17 years after emancipation, Texas law and the local city council did not provide for public schools in Bastrop. They had what they call a voucher system that allowed students to attend a few months out of a year. And you can imagine there wasn't many African American parents who could afford to do that, so it was a limited education for their children. Finally, in April 1892, the citizens of Bastrop voted for the city to acquire exclusive control of all the voucher schools within the city limits. You probably hear a lot going on now about vouchers. The establishment succeeded in the effort only through the cooperation of a former state representative called Robert Kerr, and he was an African American. And he later, in return, got to deliver the black vote. In exchange, he gained one of the 6 seats in the inaugural school board on the city at that time. And later, as we all know, the city built separate schools for whites and African Americans. I even remember when there was 3 schools here. Hispanic school, black school, white school. I used to walk by the Hispanic school to come to the black school. And right here is where we built, the black school was built, Emile. And it became Emile Educational Home for the generation of black students serving until 1969 when the so-called integration went over to the other school. My younger brother, Rufus Washington, was one of the 3 who volunteered to go over in 1969. I saw Patricia McDuff, who I think was one of the, she's here too, I think was one of the 3 that went over. I'm proud to say that I was one of the black students who graduated here in 1963. I later went on and graduated from Houston-Tilson College, and I want to tell you this, not in bragging, but tell you why I believe that this was a great school. I graduated from Houston-Tilson College in 1967, and I happened to graduate cum laude. And that's pretty good for a guy in Bastrop, Texas. I retired from the Internal Revenue Service after 41 years of service. I always like to, in my family, we like to say that we made 12 moves and bought 12 houses across the country. I retired from the Internal Revenue Service, and I became, along the way, I became one of the IRS top executives. And here again, I tell you this because a lot of people think that the black schools were bad. I can quote you on and on people who came out of here that did well. I received what they call the Presidential Rank Award. I don't know how many of you know that. Presidential Rank Award is the highest award you can get in government. And that one was signed by President Bush. My 12 years at Emile prepared me, I believe, for many things that I accomplished in the past, and it prepared me for the future. The teachers here were very good. Now, we hear a lot about black history. To tell you how good the teachers were here, there was no black history in our textbooks. What they used to teach here, if there's anybody around, I know not many around as old as I am, they used to teach what they call current events. We had a current event class an hour every day, and what they taught was black history there. So another thing that we taught here, one of the first things started here was agriculture. And I saw William Garden here, Mr. Garden's son. I brought this jacket to there he is, that's William Garden, Mr. Garden's son, who I had a lot of respect for. And to tell you how great this school was, I brought this jacket to tell you that this is what we call New Farmers of America. Now, at the other school, it was called Future Farmers of America. But this started in the South, the deep South, where if you were a black person in school, they started teaching us, calling us New Farmers. Mr. Garden started this. Mr. Garden started this. We had fat stock shows here. I personally raised a hog, a pig, a Berkshire pig. Borrowed $95 from the First National Bank, and I made I think I sold him for $94.50, so I lost 50 cents. I still use some of the things Mr. Garden taught me. Planting trees, things. He was just a great guy. And if you, this it was 1960. I don't know how many people around still got their jackets, but I kept mine. The other thing that I remember is, her name is Miss Emile now. We used to call her Miss Maynard. We had one of the first teaching of bookkeeping at this school. Now that doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people, but there are a lot of kids that can't keep books there. That's some of the problem. Behind us back here was our football stadium. This was our football stadium. We were one of the first black schools to have a football stadium. All the other schools we played in the district, they played at the white stadiums. That track back at that big tree is still standing. I remember running around that big tree. That's where the track came there. And we had state meets here because we were the only ones that had a field that had a track. So I can go on and on and on. I can tell you about people who graduated here. A guy named Jardell Carver. He was a Huey pilot in Vietnam. Came out of here. Now, unfortunately, he was killed in Vietnam. But Jardell was one and one. I can go on and on about people. We've had doctors come out of here. Vivian Lee went to the Saints, played out of here. They won the national championship. So I feel very proud, very privileged to have gone to school here at Emile High School. I do feel a little bit of anger when I see what happened here. I think that should be more done to give us some pride about what Emile did over the years and some of the things, the people they've turned out. But I know we don't have much time, but I could go on and on with you about how great. Now, there are a lot of young people here who have a tendency to be ashamed of what happened in the past. I think we as black people should be proud of what happened in the past. We had good black teachers here. We had people who cared about you. They really pushed you on. So I can go on and on about why you should be proud. And I talk to the young people about picking cotton. And they don't want to talk about it. Well, to me, if you can survive picking cotton, you can survive doing anything. Yeah. Okay, Doc says time to cut it off. So, well, I appreciate and I'm honored to have talked to you. And hopefully everybody will have a good time for the rest of the day. Thank you.